set. You can bring it to order.
We're all set? Calling the Committee on Finance regular meeting to order Monday, September 13th. It's 5:01. I can't see the time.
Yep.
We're past the hour. Madam Clerk, could you kindly read the roll?
Chairwoman Ryan,
Present.
Councilman Altucci,
Here.
Councilman Castillo,
Present.
Councilman Anthony, absent, Councilman Tate.
Here.
Great. Please let the record reflect that Councilwoman Anthony is with us. Thank you. Okay, first order of business. Madam Clerk, please read item 1 into the record.
Organizational meeting, election of a vice chairperson.
Okay, may I have, are there any motions to elect the vice chair? Councilman Narducci.
Make a motion to let Councilman Castillo in this chair.
Thank you. Do I have a
Second.
seconded by Councilman Taylor? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, let the clerk, if you could, cast one vote for Councilwoman Castillo as the new vice chair of the Committee on Finance. Look forward to continuing our work together, Councilwoman. Okay, let's take a motion, please, to take a number of, may I have a motion, please, to take a number of items out of order this evening? Motion. Okay, we're going to take motion made and seconded by Councilman Narducci. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, I'd like to take items 20 and 21. I'd like to waive the reading of those items, and I would like a motion to continue them indefinitely. Can I have that motion? Motion made by Vice Chair Castillo, seconded by Councilman Narducci. All in favor?
Hold on, I got a question there. So why are we doing that? Is that this year's
To move
CIP?
to, we've already provided, the clerk's office has already provided an award letter. I've been instructed by our treasurer that we can move forward. It's been approved by the Board of Contracts, so it's already in motion.
So that's not gonna hold up our CIP money? The paving and everything?
It's already in motion.
Got it, okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries, so those items are done. At this point, I'd like to take item 17. Madam Clerk, could you please read item 17?
An ordinance relating to Article 4, Chapter 17, Section 17-192F of the Code of Ordinances, disability waiver request, Alfred Cavour.
Okay, on this item, we do not have the folks we need to hear this item, so I'd like a motion, Vice Chair, to continue item 17. Motion made by Vice Chair Castillo, seconded by Councilman Narducci. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. So we've continued 17. All right. Do we have Chief Clemens? Is he
He's on a phone call now.
Is he on Zoom? Madam Clerk, Mr. Clerk?
He has a 5 o'clock meeting. Some other company. He's supposed to be with us. I think we're doing it Wednesday at the moment.
Tier.
Huh?
Looks like tier.
Is he there?
If the TRA, did you go to that?
Yes. What's that? Yeah, we finished it.
Item, this is about 18.
5 to 5, they came back.
Well, yeah. They'll lose, it'll be 6-5. Yeah. Yankees.
See, they moved Torres to second base.
We can't even beat the Orioles. Come on.
Red Sox a huge favor.
Doesn't matter, it's gonna be,
They're not going,
Tampa Bay or Astros, one of those two, I think.
they're not going anywhere. Boy, Toronto's on fire.
Huh?
Never say never, Kenny.
Yeah.
Did we not say it?
He was there, I promoted him to power, but then somehow he
disappeared.
dropped off. So
Okay.
He reappeared, so we can bring him back.
Okay, is Gina in this meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so, let's see, we have, Mr. Farrar is with us, item 19, let's take item 19, Madam Clerk, please.
Resolution authorizing approval to piggyback Sourcewell RFP number 062320, equipment rentals North America, Inc., by the Board of Contract and Supply in accordance with section 21-26A, NC Sourcewell.
Mr. Farrar, while you move that, are you the only member of the administration who is here to speak on this item?
I am, thank you, Madam Chair.
Please swear in Mr. Farrar.
Please raise your right hand, do you swear that the appropriate the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Please state your name and title for the record.
Leo Parada, Director of Public Works.
Mr. Farrar, please tell us about this.
All right, so, yes, thank you. The Sourcewell contract is basically the same contract that the state of Rhode Island uses to augment its winter fleet, during, obviously, winter months for snow plowing operations. Last year was the first year we tried it with smaller trucks. We rented, we used 10 landscape trucks that worked well, gave our inspectors the ability to plow while they're inspecting, gave us extra plowing capability. This year, we're moving upwards, we're releasing 10 six-wheel trucks, which will give us more spreaders, give us more coverage. It's very difficult to put a spreader on a small landscape truck. You can do it, but you're not gonna cover as much ground, you're gonna go back and forth with the salt pile much quicker. So on the larger trucks, you can cover much greater ground. The big advantage of these trucks are all brand new, Ford F-750s. They do not need a CDL driver to operate them. They're similar in size to our six-wheel trucks, but because they're under the weight classification and they do not have an air brake, you do not need a CDL. So all we need to do is have capable drivers who have some snow plowing experience, put them in the truck. It gives us that much more flexibility and less reliant on vendors. As we all know, we still go out to bid, as does the state, for vendors, but unfortunately with vendors, you get older vehicles. You're not always sure what you're gonna get, they may break down. Some drivers have less familiarity with the city. We'll be using, for the most part, internal drivers, through various departments, DPW, parks, and other, departments throughout the city to operate. So walking around the streets, and I think we'll be able to, do a better job, plowing in the winter months, and pulling vendors less often. Guaranteed amount that we have to pay, but I think it's a stronger reliance on better vehicles and better knowledge.
Well, the big thing for me is not needing a CDL license. So you get the ability to utilize or redeploy some existing staff from the city to utilize these trucks and help out should there be a heavy snowstorm.
Right, big thing will be training them, the truck is a little bit bigger, but if they have snowplow experience, they know how to position a blade, we'll be able to get them up to speed and get them on the road and plowing and sanding.
Great. Committee members, Councilwoman Anthony.
Thank you so much, Director. I just wanted to ask you, how many people are available during
Could
a...
you speak up,
Yes.
Councilwoman, the AC is on and
Oh,
I'm having
sorry.
trouble hearing.
How many people are available to drive those trucks during a snowstorm?
So typically we have on our own, somewhere around 28 or 30 of our own vehicles, and we use our own personnel to do that. We also have additional personnel that can operate those vehicles, and we've actually been hiring more people recently, so we're going to be augmenting our internal staff. So we should have sufficient personnel to operate all 40 vehicles easily. within city personnel, which would be great.
Thank you.
Any other, Councilman
Just
Nanducci?
to follow up on that, Director, I see here that dollar amount is for the 2-year lease, and we definitely want, what I don't want to do is end up seeing this go through, and then I'll end up having some of our own vehicles that we already own sitting and not being operated because we don't have the manpower to do so.
Right, yeah, no, we'll be operating everything. The intent is, when you have a storm, deploy every possible vehicle that we have and get better coverage. One of the other things that we're gonna be doing this year was sort of like, I don't think everybody ever asked the question, but it sort of came upon us with the hurricane. Public properties let it be known that, in the emergency, because of the hurricane, we can get gas at other locations other than Highland Street. We can get gas at these various stations, which are, we have contracts with the city. That, 4 o'clock in the morning, just the light bulb off my head, we can do this during the storm. That cuts down travel time in some parts of the city, 45, 50 minutes usually. You're going from the north end or up near the second line on the east side, you have to come all the way back to Highland Street, which is near PW. 20, 25 minutes there, 20, 25 minutes back, gassing up. You have an inch an hour, you're losing the street that you just plowed. If I can go to a gas station right on North Main Street, I can turn around and rest that streets quicker and keep them plowed, salted, and safer. So we'll be implementing that this year for the first time. I think it's gonna save us a lot of man hours.
Just like any other lease, we're gonna be fully responsible for the vehicles in year 3, when they're ready to be returned, is any damage or anything done to the vehicle.
So, yeah, part of the lease, Councilman, is they address everything, soup to nuts. Part of the package, they handle all repairs, minor or major, as part of the whole package. We've got it that way so that we know accidents happen, particularly in snow. You may slide down a hill, someone may hit you, you may not be at fault at all. So we have a full package where if something goes wrong, it's covered, soup to nuts, and we don't have to pay anything else. We took that into consideration. It would have been cheaper, but we all know that given the conditions, given what happens in the city, we're bound to get an accident, whether it's fault of ours or not.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, Madam Chair.
There's significant insurance coverage noted in the contract on page 12 and 13, if you'd like to refer to that. Mr. Broder, I'd like to say I think this is great, it's a good initiative that you took, following the piggyback, following the state's action. You're doing the same. I think it makes tremendous sense. Great utilization of staff, gives us more staff to utilize to put on this problem if we have it. Hopefully we won't have a heavy snow season. We always pray for that. But I just think it's a good operational efficiency, and I want to commend you for following through, pursuing it, and following through on it. I'd like to ask the solicitor, have you reviewed this contract?
I have not, but the office has,
Has the office?
my understanding.
Yes, yeah.
So there's no concerns with it from?
None at all.
Okay, awesome. Any further comments, questions from the committee? Any members? None? May I have a motion to pass item 19? Motion made by Councilwoman Castillo, seconded by Councilman Nanducci. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carried. 19 is approved. Goes before the full council. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Good work.
Thank you.
Okay, 19 is done. I don't see, okay. We're going to continue on, okay, going back to the front of the agenda, let's, Madam Clerk, will you read item number 2 into the record?
Ordinance amending Chapter 13, Housing, Article 3, Affordable Housing Trust Fund, Section 13-18, Allocation System for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
Okay. Sam Budway has been called to testify this evening. I've been advised that he's at a PRA meeting and unable to make this meeting. So we're going to, for the second time, continue this matter. May I have that motion? Motion made by Vice Chair Castillo, seconded by Councilman Narducci. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Item 2 is continued. Okay. And let us now go to the water board items. There are a number of them. Let's take them together, and I'm going to waive the reading to save the voice of our clerk. So I'd like to entertain a motion to take items 13 through 16, waive the reading and take together. May I have that motion? Motion made by Vice Chair Castillo, seconded by Councilman Narducci. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. I'd like to, at this point, we have a substitution for item 13 in that packet of items. So do we have that substitution, Mr. Clerk?
We do.
Can you circulate it for my committee, please? And then let's get the folks from the water board up to the table. Okay. I have a photo that I wanted to make you present. Not yet. Okay. Okay, first, please have a seat, folks. I thought it'd take you longer, but it was only a couple of steps. I'm gonna ask for a motion to substitute item 13. May I have that motion? Motion made by Vice Chair Castillo, seconded by Councilman Narducci. All in favor, aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Item 13 of this packet that we are considering now has been substituted. We have with us a number of representatives from the Water Board. Welcome. It's so good to see your faces. It's really a pleasure, quite frankly, to have these meetings in person. And that personal connection. With that, Madam Clerk, may I ask, or Mr. Clerk, would you please swear in the folks that are here?
I do. Can you please say your name, title for the record? David Chapoy, Deputy General Manager of Providence Water.
Nancy Carollo, Senior Manager of Finance.
Lynn Roberts, HR Director of Providence.
Wonderful. Okay, please, you have a presentation for us. If you could take us through what is before the committee for consideration, we would greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Honorable Members of the committee. The name is David Chapoy, Deputy General Manager of Providence Water. First and foremost, I really want to thank the committee for getting financial ordinances, budget ordinances on the committee so quickly. Taking them up, as you know, our fiscal year end is June 30th, and the budget was brought before the Water Supply Board June 14th, approved. That was the City Council, and it's here before you this evening. I have with me Nancy Carollo, Senior Manager of Finance, and Lynn Roberts from our Personnel Department to answer any questions that we may have. Nancy Carollo has a brief summary of a project and finance and so forth that she'll present, and we're happy to entertain any questions.
Wonderful. Please.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Just want to give the committee an overview because I see some new faces from when I was here the last time. So, Providence Water serves approximately 60% of the state of the population of the state of Rhode Island. So our product is very important to the state. We are regulated by the Public Utilities Commission, and we're very proud to say our budget this year, again, is balanced. And this budget is based on the revenue that was approved by the Public Utilities Commission in our Step 2 increase of our latest docket in front of the Public Utilities Commission, number 4994. That was a 3-step rate filing. Fiscal year 2022 is Step 2 That was approved by the Public Utilities Commission effective July 1. This budget is based on those approved rates. Just some highlights. Total revenue is projected at $92.5 million. 74% of that is retail and wholesale water sales. That's the biggest chunk. Our expenses are pretty much broken up. Operating expenses might make 51% of our budget, and restricted funds make up the 49%. The restricted funds are set up specifically to cover the expenses in critical areas for the water board. It would be chemicals, insurance, infrastructure replacement, capital improvement, meters, those types of critical expenses that we need to make sure we have money for to pay those expenses to keep the operation running. This year, salaries, fringe, and retirement together are projected at about $28 million or 59% of the operating budget. Salaries alone are at $17 million. Fringe benefits are $6.8 million, and the retirement contribution is $4.1 million, and that number we actually received from the consultants when they used the retirement survey for the city. Our budget also has transfers to 11 restricted accounts. One of those restricted accounts is the Water Quality Protection Fund, which basically helps us pay for the land and the watershed. Our infrastructure replacement fund covers all the continual work we do on the plant and the delivery system. Other than that, I think that was basic highlights. If you have any specific questions or general questions we can answer for you, please ask.
Thank you. Committee members, any questions, concerns, thoughts? Okay, there was a rate increase of 5.5%.
That's correct.
Okay. And that was projected to generate an additional $4.3 million in revenue.
Correct.
Why is the revenue increase only $3.3 million when you projected $4.3 million in revenue?
The revenue that was projected in the rate filing does not take into account all expenses. That revenue was water-related revenue only. The water-related revenue that was approved in the rate filing is $88 million, approximately $88 million. We're looking at revenue of $92, which covers revenue that the Public Utilities Commission does not take into account when they set rates.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay, and there's some personnel changes I noted for the FY22 budget. Can you just walk us through some of those personnel changes? Explain to us why?
I'm going to have Lynn from HR.
Tell us, Lynn.
Okay, in order to provide a little more flexibility.
Actually, I'm going to ask the clerk, can you cut the AC? I'm having trouble hearing, please. Sorry for the interruption. Please continue.
In order to provide us with a little bit more flexibility in some hiring based on new programs that we're obligated to implement and/or personnel, many personnel changes. Also to keep up with the current market. So, for example, I'll start with the adding new titles, positions, and grades, kind of sort of taking it out of order. The positions 2 through 5 are all slated to be possible additional personnel to a new division that we were behind the 8 ball on, and that was the cybersecurity division. Those positions are not necessarily all going to get filled. It's just a matter of pre-planning to get those titles in there in the event that we either need to mix and match or take on additional personnel. The positions, 6 through, I don't know how many it is, another maybe through 14, that, some of them are placeholders for positions that we already have people in that job title, not necessarily that specific title, but performing that function at that rate of pay. So 4 of them are placeholders for people already performing those duties, whether they took on additional staffing responsibilities and/or additional job duties. We're trying to put a title in that measures the value of the position. The IT department is currently undergoing a complete study, which they contracted out with some outside source to see where our IT positions, where we're deficient. The reason we're kind of asking for generic ranges in both manager and supervisor is to be able to have the flexibility to use those positions if we need to recruit in any one of those areas.
Who's doing the analysis?
It's some engineering firm, I'm sorry, I can get.
Is there an RFP for that? Or what?
I don't know.
Maybe EMS, they did one for the, IT department, I think they may do one for the finance department as well.
The first category, the increase in the allowance.
Please speak up, huh?
The
I thought it was the AC, but now I'm thinking it's the air circulator. Yeah.
The first category, the increase in the allowable number of titles in the existing ordinance. Again, the bulk of this is to provide more flexibility in the event that we find we need a director of a brand new division that we're forced to start with the oversight on. I know on the union side, specifically the water system mechanic, we're currently in a active recruitment to bring on the entry-level workforce. And as we bring on more people who can physically do the work to eliminate using contractors, we are required to have more working foremen in that classification. So that would be synonymous with the way I'm talking about the water system mechanic, who is the working foreman, to increase that number to allow us to hire and/or promote up to 15 in that category. And the last category, the changing grades, I kind of touched on it initially. Supervisor of water quality, that position has already been compensated at that pay grade 12. We just want the title to represent exactly what that position is earning. She's taken on additional staffing. That's with all the lead replacement work that we're doing create more water quality issues, which required more staffing. And the web application developer, that's as simple as that's just market value. We're never going to be able to recruit an IT person and a web application developer for what that job range paid previously.
Fair enough. Can you just bring us back to the water quality supervisor from an M9 to an M12? Seems like a big jump in range. Am I missing something there?
Not necessarily. It could be anywhere from an M9 down. It didn't necessarily mean that they were paid at the same pay step as what they currently were in. I don't have the actual numbers in front of me. We generally try to keep these promotional increases to 5% or under. So everything isn't an automatic big jump.
Okay. Any other questions from the committee on this topic? Councilwoman Anthony?
Yes, I was wondering if someone might just review the infrastructure replacement budget for 21-22.
That's, as you can see, it's the biggest portion of our budget outside of our operating budget. I can walk you through where we're at. Transfer from water operations is $31.3 million. That is what is allowed by the Public Utilities Commission for us to move to that fund out of rates in this fiscal year. Bond proceeds is what we expect to borrow from the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank at the discounted rate through the State Revolving Fund. That money is used only specifically for the water main replacement project in accordance with the consent agreement that we have with the Department of Health. The surcharge, East Smithfield Water District surcharge, that is mandated to cover the debt service that we acquired when we took over East Smithfield Water District. That is paid only by the East Smithfield Water District residents that we took on, and that's to cover the debt service on the three bond issues that we assumed. The carryover from the prior year is what we're looking at as our ending balance to that fund, ending June 30th, 2021, coming into the new year. And then some interest income and other income is, a lot of that is interest earned on the debt service reserve funds that support our debt, and that is used to pay our debt service. On the expense side, salaries, fringe, and retirement, that expense is for people in the engineering department at Providence Water who work only and solely on projects in the infrastructure replacement fund. This $606,000 is transferred back to the operating budget to reimburse the operations for their salaries and costs. The same thing for the transfers of operation, labor, and materials. It's just a reimbursement back to the operating fund for any crossover of people from operations into this working on an IFR project. It may be one day, it may be a week, it's very sporadic, but we calculate all that and gets reimbursed back to the operating budget. The debt service, the $8.2 million, is exclusively to the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank for the low interest loans we have in place that have covered water main replacement, meter replacement, the new administration, the central operating facility we're in, but most of that is for the water main replacement. And the replacement projects, the $53 million, that's everything that is not getting paid for out of bond proceeds. It's a very robust project year this year. Besides the water main project, they are looking at starting the work on the Cranston Commons pump station replacement program. The clarifier project up at the plant which is going to be a very long and very expensive project. There's some work being done on the 78-inch aqueduct, and of course the water main project, which is about $19 million a year.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Did you mention the lead service replacement project?
The private side lead service does not come out of that fund. It has its own fund. We track that separately because all of the activity within that fund is we prepay, basically, we pay the contractor and then we're reimbursed by the customer whose lead service is being replaced. So we track it completely separately. The debt service on the money that we get from the infrastructure bank that is basically funding that program at this point is being repaid by those repayments by the customer. So we track it by itself so that we're not using ratepayer funds to pay the debt service. It's being paid for by the people that are actually using that program.
What rate are we getting from the infrastructure bank on that?
0. And no administrative fee.
Thank you, Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank.
Absolutely.
That magazine, huh?
No, it's when we got permission from the Public Utilities Commission to begin this program, we worked with the infrastructure bank, and they have, the way it works with them, they also have money that's being recycled all the time, and, you know, went to them with this program, they're like, yeah, this is a great use of our recycle funds, and it was a good way to get money back in use and, doing some good work in the drinking water side, so.
How many households have we served since the program was kicked off? Do you know, do you have that number?
I can tell you that I have 528 loans on the books. Those are the ones that have been completed, and we have invoiced them for their loans. I have not seen the crop of invoices from the contractor for work that's been done this year. That I'll be getting within the next couple of weeks, because as we get closer to the fall, that work will slow down. But to date, before this season, there are 528 active loans being repaid on.
Great. Do we know how deep the pool is? How many folks need their lead replaced?
I don't have that number off the top of my head, but we can certainly get you that information.
Interested in sending, if you could send that to the chief of staff of the council.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
if I may,
Yes, David.
I oversaw the transmission and distribution department prior to being the general manager. And, I'm so proud of the work that they did. They did over 200 lead service replacements last season. That's in addition to the 500 that, Ms. Whittle mentioned for the loan. So it's certainly a priority for us to do that, and, we work hard at that number.
I know you do. That's kind of why I wanted you to talk about it. It's a really good story. The fact that it's 0% interest rate from the infrastructure bank, the fact that so many households have been helped, you know, families, particularly in my ward, and young kids, that, you know, the exposure to lead is significant. And I love everything about the program, that the implementation has been top shelf. I also think that the follow-up is great, because you not only test before the work is done, you test after the work is done, to make sure that the work was done correctly and efficiently. And it gives the homeowner a tremendous sense of comfort and safety, knowing that, just the way you implement it. I just wanted to highlight that today. Any questions?
Madam Chair,
Go ahead, Dave.
if I may, you know, as I listen to Nancy and Lynn speak about this, you know, our budget and these ordinances are very important. It's an important cog in the wheel. But as I listen to this, I use the word proud, because I am proud of the work, and, you know, being an elected official in Smithfield, you know, we deal with problems a lot of times. But one thing that we can be proud of is the quality of the drinking water that Providence Water delivers to our ratepayers and users. And it's something that we take very personally, you know, from the laborer that's working in the trench, to the person who's working on Fire Street Division, to information security, keeping it's really a huge priority, and we take it very, very seriously. So, again, I sincerely mean that when I say that you take the budget ordinances up so early, because it's a tremendous help to us, and I just wanted to put that on the record.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Well stated. Please go right ahead, Councilman Nanducci.
Just, I know it, working for the Navigator Bay Commission for 26 years before taking my stroke, how the only thing you ever hear is the negative stuff that goes on in the Navigator Bay Commission, the Water Board, the City of Providence. You never hear about the guys in the trenches. Friday, got my wife off at work, I come home, go to the bathroom, I go to wash my hands, I got no water. So I'm thinking it's my hot water tank. I go down the stairs, my front door has a window on the top. Holy Christ, what is that? Water gushing down the street. Make a long story short, we had a huge main break right in the middle of Dorothy Avenue that shut down 3 streets, probably over 65 houses, and including Hagen Manor, which is a housing facility for the elderly in my community. Within a matter of 3 hours, the road was fixed, re-asphalted, and everybody had water within 3 hours. I did send them a tweet out commending the work of the foreman and his crew that day, the professionality that the guys worked, and just, you know, you see them in the ditches. You know, even took back flashbacks, I can remember being in ditches, you know, with the, sewer department. And, you know, again, it was a great feeling because down at the avenue, there was about 8 of us, including my next door neighbor that doesn't miss nothing, out there watching these guys. You never heard a swear word dropped. Like I said, they were just so professional, and I also actually even sent a letter to Ricky Carullo, so he knows that, and I got a few of the guys' names that were on the job. One, Anthony Martone.
Yes.
It was just unbelievable, and I just wanted to let that be recognized again, because you had said, David, about the great work that they do, and that's why we have the water we have. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Well said, Councilman Narducci. Just for the record, if I may, I just wanted to reaffirm that the positions and the personnel changes that you've contemplated in this budget, or you put in this budget, are reflected. You stated it, but I'm restating it, based on the projects that you've got going on right now. You've got a number of significant projects.
Several, and in anticipation of anything that may come out of nowhere.
Okay. I just wanted to restate that. I'd like to ask, I see Gina Costa, our favorite auditor, is with us on screen. Madam Auditor, first, welcome.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions? Have you reviewed this budget?
I do not. I have no concerns. I reviewed it today with Nancy, and I went over any questions that I had, but everything looks fine to me.
Wonderful. No comments? You're good? Okay.
Good?
All right. Anyone else? Committee members? Anybody else? Okay. May I have a motion to pass items 3 through 16 and 13 as amended? Motion made by Council Vice Chair Castillo, seconded by Councilman Narducci. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you very much to the City of Providence. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, and that leaves us, and I'm trying to get Colonel Clemens to join us. So let's just stand at ease, if you may, just a moment here. Okay. Let's just take, you have to leave. Sorry. Thank you, Councilman.
Have a good evening.
Take care, have a good one.
Thank you.
Good night, guys. Thanks for the mess. Welcome.
Okay, we have Chief Clemens has joined us. Can you please, Mr. Clerk, help us and bring him into the meeting?
Yes, Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Beautiful. Good evening, Chief Clemens. Before we begin.
Good evening. Do you have me?
We have you. Yeah. You're looking pretty good too outside in that lovely evening.
I was on with the council president.
I knew that, and I was allowing time. It was tough. I had to juggle a few things, but you're worth it. Madam Clerk, could you kindly read item 18 into the record?
Resolution regarding ATV and recreational vehicle enforcement.
Okay. And we have our favorite Chief of Police, Colonel Hugh Clements, is with us. Could you swear in the Chief, please?
Mr. Chief, could you please raise your right hand? Do you swear under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Please state your name and title for the record.
Hugh T. Clemens Jr., Chief of Police.
So, Chief, if I may just provide a little background for our discussion today. As you're aware, the city of Providence passed an ordinance in 2015 outlawing the operation of snowmobiles, ATVs, and other recreational vehicles. In 2017, anticipating an uptick in the use of these ATVs on our streets, and trying to get ahead of this, the council, specifically me, worked with the command staff of the Providence Police Department, and we've tried to figure out what kind of ordinance we could pass to try to get control of these ATVs. And working with the solicitor, I drafted and passed an ordinance that gave the police the power to confiscate and to destroy ATVs in 2017. That's the background. We understand per testimony from the commissioner who was invited this evening, who has not joined us, was unavailable to join us, is what I was told, that the mayor had tried to utilize these vehicles, and that he went up to the State House to request legislation to do so. That was not accepted, and recognizing that we were having difficulty with ATVs, the council passed or put forth this resolution. It was drafted by me. It was co-sponsored initially by the Council Igliozzi, and other folks have joined, other council members have joined. Pretty much certain that everybody is in support of this resolution. And I know that you have been working very diligently to enforce the ATV ordinances that are on the books. So without sharing, divulging any police tactics, I'm hoping that tonight you can update us as to what you're doing, what you've accomplished, and at least send a message that we are indeed enforcing our ATV laws. So take it away, Chief, with that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hello, council members, and thank you. Yeah, this is a huge challenge for the police department, for the city. It's become a scourge. No one dislikes them more than me and the command staff. And just to put it in perspective, we all know, again, with the help of this council, we were given the teeth and the latitude to go out and seize these in a greater fashion. And things were going pretty well for a while. And also to put in perspective, we never had a no chase policy. But what we did have, as you all know now, is a pursuit policy, which asks us or directs the men and women to pursue safely, prudently, not in a dangerous manner to put the public at risk, the police at risk, or the individual on the bike. So the policy is very narrowly worded in that we can pursue safely to apprehend and seize. So we were doing pretty well. And as you all know, a year ago, there was a very high-profile incident where a young man was injured while he was operating one of those bikes. And there were a lot of voices heard, and a lot of things changed in the community since that point. And it became a point in time where the police department backed off in pursuing those type of vehicles, as you all know. So, look, I think that had to play itself out, and I think it has. To get to the question in the moment we're in now, since my testimony at that Tuesday meeting on just before the beginning of August, things have changed. So the beginning of August, we amped it up and ramped it up once again. We've had several operations with a specialized unit, mainly the plainclothes officers, with some some input from the uniform division as well. We've had a few of these operations with the Rhode Island State Police, but mainly by the Providence Police. And so we've done operations probably, I have it in front of me, probably 9 or 10 times. So on August 1st, August 15th, 17th, 20th, 24th, 26th, September 2nd, September 4th, September 6th, and we're doing one tomorrow. So that's off the record. So we have found that our best ability to capture these bikes is with a directed response, not just routine with the officers we have on duty. So as you know, we're limited with what we have on duty, and if 50 of them start riding tonight and we don't have a directed patrol, we might get 1 or 2 if we're lucky.
Colonel, you're no longer with us, you're breaking up. You're back, I think.
I'm sorry. You got
We
me
lost
back?
you after, you may get 1 or 2, if you're lucky.
Yes, by regular patrols. With directed patrols, we have greater ability to get more. So we've gotten as many as 15 in one shot. That was on August 26th. And that was a lot of the ATVs. So we've done well. We know we're making a dent. We're hearing that with intelligence. So over the weekend, so right now, since that August 1st, actually since August 15th, we're up to 52 in that short amount of time. We've gotten 52 bikes and ATVs. Over the weekend, I get a call from the number 2 guy in the Boston Police. They seized 20. Most of the 20 they seized, it was a coordinated effort with Boston Police, Mass State Police, and some of the outlying municipalities. They got 20 in one shot, one day. And most of them came from Providence, believe it or not. And they interviewed one of the kids. And I guess that's as a result of us seizing, because of the ordinance that you enacted, the 15 of them in one shot from private property, they're now slowly beginning to go elsewhere. They're still coming here. I know over the weekend they came 146 South and they drove through the city at one point, probably to get to their respective destinations, but they got scooped in a big number by Boston Mass State Police over the weekend. So that was pretty interesting to me. I talked to the Boston Superintendent, Gerard Bailey. I asked him how big of a problem it is in Boston. He said it's a nightmare. He said it's a nightmare in Boston and the outlying areas, same thing. But anyway, we're on it. We're doing it again tomorrow. I think the legislation you gave us, they don't have that and they like it. And the Boston police are going to try to institute that with their respective council. They have their mayoral election tomorrow in Boston, which should be interesting. So they're with a change of leadership very shortly. So, but we're on it. We're up to 52 since the middle of August, and we're hopeful to get more tomorrow. We're going to stay on it.
Thank you. I just want to follow up on what you stated. We're a leader on the legislation, adding the due process clause and allowing you folks to seize and destroy. So we are giving you the tools, and we're happy that you're utilizing them. And it is it's getting bigger and bigger, it seems. And we had hoped by instituting that legislation back in 2017 to get ahead of the curve. But anyway, Councilman Narducci, you have a question?
Yes, thank you,
Please.
Madam Chair. First of all, Chief, let me see, you got a close running now with Chief Courier, so just be careful.
He's a good man.
Chief, is it true though, because again, you hear everything and it kind of upsets me to hear that we've actually taken, shutting down certain units like the gun task force and the drug task force, to have them chasing these SUVs. Is there any truth to that?
Yes. So because we're so short in the workforce, we're not shutting down units, but we've gone to school on what Philly has done in the bigger cities. the best way to get these bikes is with the unmarked cars and the plain clothes units. So, and the way we get them now is because they can't back up. So if we can get them by surprise in some of our unmarked,
I don't mean to interrupt you, but maybe you don't want to share your techniques and
right,
your...
right.
So I'm
But
going to
it's-
stop.
Yeah, the unmarked vehicles are the best way to get them.
All right, that's what I was hoping to hear anyway. Also, Madam Chair, if I may.
Please continue.
I don't see it in this particular ordinance, but I know back when we had this, issue, maybe around 12 years ago, we also made it, to where the police officers, the Providence Police Department, I should say, if they are aware of some of these vehicles being on private property, that you do have the authority to go onto private property and tow these vehicles off private property. Are we still doing that?
Yes, that was on August 26th that we did that, and we got 15. Most of those off private property. And in fact, well, we also, that was a gang group. That was the Trinitarios, who had many of the ATVs. And we also seized a flatbed, of which they were utilizing to transport those ATVs to certain locations in and out of state. So to answer your question, Councilman Nick, absolutely, we are still going on private property. It'll be interesting to see if, especially with that particular group, we took some high-priced vehicles from them if they try to contest the ordinance.
And then, Chief, I know at one point in time, the mayor did not want to help enforce this ordinance. Are you getting any better support from him and Commissioner Parry trying to get these vehicles off-road?
Yes, I mean, they're both fully committed, same thing. It's become a scourge of the city, including with the commissioner and the mayor. So it's full steam ahead in getting these bikes and ATVs and scooters off the street.
Well, that's good to hear. And my last comment, Madam Chair.
Please continue.
Chief, this last weekend, we had an episode that started on Smithfield Avenue, that they went into one of the gas stations and gassed up about 75 of these vehicles and then rode through my neighborhood, a lot of my side streets and dead ends, and caused havoc to people's houses and stuff. I'm sure you heard of all that. Yeah. Matter of fact, one of the police officers, they literally surrounded him, started smashing his back taillights, continuing to harass the police officer. Maybe I'm just bringing this up because that's the kind of clientele we're dealing with. They don't respect themselves, never mind respecting the law or the ordinances that we put forward. That's why we need to get more forceful, I think. And I also heard that the state police have also been helping on the ATV situations. Is that also true with us?
Yes, where they're able to assemble a team with us, that's correct. And you're completely right on that Branch Avenue incident. And we know almost every time they have a large group of rideouts, they're completely reckless. They're completely lawless. They have no regard for police, indicative by surrounding a police car and smashing out our taillights, and never mind everything that else they do that's, verbally or hand gestures or kicking police cars. All of that has been in play. It's disgusting. It really is.
Well, I would really like to say what I could, but I'll say it off the record, not on the record one day.
I appreciate that, Nick.
Chief, thank you so much for everything you guys are trying to do, and I'm glad to hear that the mayor and the commissioners on board and they're supporting what they're trying to do, and stay safe. Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman Tucci. Anyone else? Committee? No other questions? Chief, just for the record, once again, since August 1st, you've ramped up efforts to address the ATV issue. What is the number that you had stated, again, for the record, that you have confiscated at this point? Is it 52? Since August? the 1st of August?
I'm sorry, say,
Since
yes.
the 1st of August, since the council as a whole meeting, when the council basically requested that the ATV ordinances be enforced, how many have you captured?
I forget the exact date of that meeting. But I'll say, since August 1st, we've gotten 54. Since August 15th, we've gotten 52.
Okay, well, about the same. We're not gonna.
52 plus the 50?
No.
And I'll say this too, you know, we need to make a determination now, and we're talking about it behind the scenes, but we certainly appreciate what you've done for us and your guidance. But we actually have 98 in our possession, and we'll be looking to make our next move as far as once they're, I believe 98, I could be wrong, but I believe 98 have been navigated through the process. So we need to make a determination if we're going to continue to crush, or I know at one point there was conversations to ship them somewhere, but either way, never put them back in circulation anywhere near the city of Providence.
That's a discussion that we'll continue to have. We've had conversations about how to utilize them, if the city can utilize them, if the Parks Department can utilize them, as well as the, park rangers or other, organizations. But, for sure, we don't want to be working as hard as we know we have to work, to capture these bikes and then just get them back on the street, because that was the reasoning for the 2017 ordinance in the first place. But what I've always heard, once you capture these bikes, that there are not many of them that have value, unless that's changed, I'm not sure. But we can continue that conversation, and if you need help legislatively, sir, we will do whatever we can to assist you. Any other thoughts, any other comments? Do you have any message for the ATV riders that you'd like to express tonight?
That's directed at me,
Yes, sir.
Madam Chair. Yes, stay out of Providence, go elsewhere, because we're going to stay fully on board with enforcing 1,000% and taking your bikes off the street.
Thank you, sir. That's just what we wanted to hear. Thank you very much for your testimony this evening. Committee members, any other questions, concerns, comments? No? With that, may I have a motion to approve item 18?
Second motion.
Motion made by Vice Chair Castillo, seconded by Councilman Narducci. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you, Colonel, for all your hard work.
Thank you, everyone. Good to see everyone. Thank you.
Okay, folks, I think that concludes, Madam Clerk, Mr. Clerk, Madam Clerk, I think we've addressed all of the items on the agenda. With that, may I have a motion to adjourn? Motion to
Second that
adjourn,
motion, Madam
seconded by
Chair.
Councilman Narducci. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes, we're adjourned. Thank you all.